When you think about locking down an AI system, what comes to mind? Probably things like firewalls, maybe encryption, or bug hunting in the code, right? Well, what if I told you that by the time you're even thinking about code, your most important security choices have already been made? Yeah, seriously. Let's get into it. This line right here really gets to the heart of the problem. You just can't treat security like an accessory you add on at the last minute. That's a total recipe for disaster in AI. It's a huge misunderstanding of where the real risks are. Because with AI, the weaknesses aren't just in the code, they're baked into the very reason the system exists in the first place. So here's the big idea. Real, solid AI security isn't a tech problem. It's a strategy problem. It all comes down to three foundational pillars that you have to build before you code. Those pillars are intent, alignment, and oversight. Let's break down exactly what that means. First up, let's talk about our first pillar, intent. This is all about knowing your why, long before you ever get to the how. To put it simply, intent is basically the mission statement for your AI. Answering these basic questions: what's its job? Who's going to use it? Who's counting on its answers? That defines the entire game. This one step, right here, draws all the lines in the sand for everything else that comes next. And you can see the difference it makes, clear as day. Without a sharp, defined intent, you're pretty much building vulnerabilities on purpose. Your model starts doing things you never expected. Imagine a medical AI that starts prioritizing speed over getting the diagnosis right, all because its purpose was a little fuzzy. You can't govern it, and your attack surface just blows up. See, this is how that clear intent becomes the bedrock of all your security rules. It's the blueprint for every single security decision you make down the line. It tells you exactly what data you're allowed to touch, who gets the keys to the system, and even what level of risk is okay for this specific job. Okay, let's move on to our second pillar and see how it builds on the first. So we've got our AI's purpose, its intent, but now we need alignment. Alignment is all about making sure your AI isn't just some cool science fair project running in a corner by itself. It has to plug directly into what the organization is trying to achieve. It needs to solve a real problem, and it has to do it while playing by the company's rules on risk, regulations, and even its core values. Just look at the difference here. When an AI is aligned, it's a managed strategic tool with clear owners. But without it, well, you get what we call shadow AI. These uncontrolled experiments that just pop up everywhere. Think about a marketing team using some free generative AI tool on sensitive customer data. It creates a massive compliance nightmare and operates completely outside of any security controls. It is a disaster just waiting to happen. This is where the rubber meets the road. Getting that business alignment right leads directly to real, concrete security decisions. It tells you everything: what data is off limits, which security measures are mandatory, who's even allowed to use it, and how much freedom the model can have. This is what makes security something you can actually enforce. So, we've defined our intents, we've achieved alignment, but you can't just set it and forget it. And that brings us to our third and final pillar, oversight. Oversight is the nonstop, active job of making sure the AI stays on the right path. AI models aren't statues. They change. Their performance can slip, and new threats are always showing up. Oversight is how you make sure the system you have in a year is still the safe, effective system you launched today. And the difference is just night and day. With proper oversight, you can spot problems like model drift or new attack methods before they become catastrophic. Without it, your AI basically becomes a ticking time bomb. It's wide open to data poisoning, evasion attacks, and it could start spitting out harmful stuff you have absolutely no control over. And what's really crucial here is that oversight isn't just one step. It's a discipline that you have to maintain across the entire life of the AI. From checking the data at the very beginning all the way to making sure you safely shut the model down at the very end. Oversight has to be there always. So we have intent, alignment, and oversight. But there's one last layer that ties this whole thing together, and honestly, it's the most critical one of all: people. Let's just be totally clear about this. Technology alone will never be enough to secure AI. In the end, it's humans who provide those final, absolutely essential guardrails to stop failures, to catch mistakes, and to make sure the system is actually being used safely and ethically. There are really three core human safeguards you've got to remember. First, human in the loop. That just means a person has to say yes or no before the AI does something important. Then there's human oversight, which is about having people constantly watching to catch weird behavior or new attacks. And finally, human validation. That's the final expert gut check before an AI's output is actually put to use. Every single one of these is an absolute must-have if you want to prevent a disaster. So let's wrap this all up. Building AI that you can actually trust isn't some dark art. It starts with simple business clarity. That's your intent and alignment. It's built around people. That's your human-centric design. And it's kept safe through constant watchfulness. That's your continuous governance and oversight. And that really just leaves us with one last big question to think about. As every company on the planet races to roll out AI, we have to stop and ask, are we building these things with clear, aligned, and supervised intent? Or are we just writing code and hoping for the best? The security of our future really does depend on that answer.